Guys, in this video, I'm going to give you guys 5 tips on the steps that I'm going to follow in order to get my first SaaS up and running, to get it published, to get it in front of my target audience, and also to get real world feedback in order to make it better. So if you're anything like me, you have noticed that once you go on YouTube, there's a lot of developers now developing SaaS products. There's also some users that don't know how to develop, but they're using no code tools in order to build their SaaS product in order to start a second or third or fourth income stream. And you remembered like there's an application that you've wanting to be built for years now but just never got to it because life happens. Let's just be real, life does happen. But I've decided to go ahead and start this journey and then documenting it using this channel, which is basically my YouTube channel, on each and every step that I'm going to take in order to get the SaaS up and running. So if you would like to follow my journey on building my SaaS and maybe all the tips and tricks that I'm going to learn along the road and share it with you guys, make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. So you must be wondering, like, who am I subscribing to, who am I liking to? So my name is Sipiho. I'm a developer basically in South Africa, and yeah, this is the journey where I built my first SaaS application. With no longer ado, let's get into the 5 tips. So tip number 1, you're gonna write down your idea. This may sound very simple, this may sound like obviously you're going to write it down, but many people have a great idea and never jot it down immediately, and then 2 to 5 minutes later they've forgotten it, or they've forgotten half of it, and then it just kind of fades away to the back of your head, and then it just becomes one of those things you thought of in the past but never really acted on. So what you want to do is you actually want to go ahead and write it down. This is going to make your idea basically turn from an idea into something more real, because now it's on a piece of paper that you can touch, a piece of paper that you can feel, and if you're weird enough, a piece of paper that you can actually taste. So this thing just became real. So tip number 2 is you're not going to focus on the stack that you're going to use on building this application. You're not going to spend too much time on it. Use what you are comfortable with. There's too much debate out there on which platform is better than which one, which framework to use, whether it's Next.js, whether it's Angular, whether it's React, whether it's building it in pure HTML and CSS, whether it's using a no-code tool like Webflow, for example. You're not going to focus too much on that. You're just going to pick something that works for you, something that you are comfortable with, something that you know that you can build this application and complete it using these languages or these tools, and then that's what you're going to go with. Because honestly, your users do not care on what backend platform you're using. They don't care if it's components, if it's Tailwind CSS. They don't even care how spaghetti or ugly your backend code looks. They just care if it works. They care if does this solve the problem that I have and it is worth my bucks. So you're not going to focus too much time on the stack you're going to use. You're going to pick what you are comfortable with and you're going to run with it. That's so tip number 2. So your tip number 3 is to make sure that you are marketing your application. So make sure that you're constantly talking about your application, whether in your Twitter feeds, in your Instagram post, in your LinkedIn post. You are talking about your application constantly in order to get more, in order to maximize basically the amount of visitors it can get, and also the amount of people that can actually give you real feedback on the application that you have built. If you have a YouTube channel and you're busy doing tutorials, building to-do apps, go ahead and just mention that you have used this piece of code in your application X, Y, and Z, and then you add a link into your description and can encourage your users to go ahead and check out your application. So you are marketing your application in a way that doesn't look sleazy, in a way that doesn't feel marketing-ish, if that's even a word, but you are getting it out there, you're getting the word out there about your application. So you're constantly talking about your application and make sure people know about it. So tip number 4 is for you guys to go ahead and not have a freemium plan. I know we all get into this, that because we are starting out, because it's our first application, because we don't really have any users, we don't want to charge anything for application so we can get as much users on it as possible. But do believe me that to convert a user from a free plan to a paid plan, it's much harder than to get a user on a paid plan the first time. So make sure that you are charging something for your application, whether it's just $1 for them to have access to it. But if you are charging an amount for them to have access to your application, it kind of encourages them to give you feedback about that application, because they are paying for the software and they want it to be as a good software as best as possible for them to keep using it. So make sure you stay away from freemiums. You can charge a subscription, you can do a credit based plan where they can buy credits and top up credits, or they can pay, like have a weekly access. And if you really have to do a trial basis, keep it to 7 days maximum. So give them a 1 week where they can go ahead and be on your application and test it out, but after a week they're gonna have to pay. You don't want them to settle into the mindset that this thing is free and that they don't have to pay for it. So stay away from freemiums. And tip number 5 is to make sure you ship fast. So what this means is you want to spend as little time as possible in building your application in order to get it up and running, in order to complete your MVP, in order to get it out in front of your target audience so that you can get real world feedback. And the reason for this is actually twofold. So fold number 1 is if you spend 6 months and longer on an application and it bombs out, no one likes it, no one really goes onto your platform, no one really is using it, you're definitely going to feel like you've wasted 6 months of your life. You're going to want to go and hide under your bed, or even want a rock to swallow you, and just never show your face in a community around because you're such a big failure. And not because your application failed, but simply because you spend so much time building it, you invested so much time in building it, and you feel like you've wasted all of that time. You could have been doing something else with that time. So ship fast is just going to allow your mindset to say, if it fails, it's fine. I've just spent 3 to 4 weeks on this application. What did I expect anyway? You get into that groove. So you just jump onto your second application or your second SaaS idea and you start building that one. On the flip side of it is that if you have spent 3 weeks to 4 weeks on building an MVP that solves this problem, and actually it takes off, you got your first 10 users paying you to use your application and giving you feedback, your mind is going to like, wow, if I spend so little time on this application and it's actually helping 10 people that are really paying for it, if I invest more time on it, obviously I'm going to get more users, and if I add more features, I'm going to get more users. So you juiced up to start working on this application actually better with, because you spend so little time on it and you're getting positive results. So make sure that you are shipping fast. So that's my 5 tips for you guys. That's the 5 tips that I'm going to follow while I'm building my application. And if you're still around, still watching this video, just hit the comment below the timestamp that you're hearing this, and just say that I'm still here, I'm building SaaS, because I've got a bonus tip for you, just for you. I think it's like from the 90% that's been watching this is probably like the 1% of you guys. And my bonus tip is make sure you document your process in building your application. Why? Simply because if you're documenting your process of building your application, this is going to help you to go back once you're starting a new application, to go see the process that you have done and kind of follow that same process with your second application, and know the steps that you've taken in building your first one and why it didn't work, and kind of change those around in order to get better results the second time, the third time, the fourth time around. So you can document this either using newsletters, where you do a weekly newsletter, an update on what you have built, the feature you have added onto your application, the struggle that you have faced. You can do this by doing what I'm doing now, a YouTube channel where you do a weekly entry of a vlog like this, basically, where you talk about your application and what you have done. And also maybe you can do a blog, or just journal it down if you're that type to have journals and kind of write things down. Just journal it down, but make sure you are documenting your process of building your first SaaS application. That is going to help you in the long run. So guys, I thank you all for watching. I thank you all for following me on this journey. I'm just excited to get started on this one. I'm going to try to post each and every week. Until next time, guys, make sure all of you stay safe.